In this week's episode, Adam and I are going to be talking about AI slop and how that comes about and how we can avoid it, as well as we're going to talk about the new release of the Fable model, the Fable 5 by Anthropic, and the crazy cool things that people are doing with Fable. So, with that said, welcome to Free Period. Welcome back, Adam. How are you feeling?
Hey man, yeah, I'm good. Loving the American energy in your opener there.
There you
Shane's
go.
not letting me do them yet because he says I'm too monotone and boring, but I have my own flair.
There's a place for it. There's, you have very distinct skills. And
I mean, I actually started a biology YouTube, and one of my students did comment. I said, let me know what you think. And she said, you need a bomb-ass intro though. And I was like, man, I thought I did it this week. But she's also American, so maybe she feels that she needs that energy to stay hooked. But personally, I usually stick a podcast on when I go for a run. So once I'm switched it on, I'm usually committed.
you zoom past the intro because you just want to get to the meat of things.
Yeah, exactly. And I think once people have got to our meat, there is no second. I know where I'm going with that.
Oh, I know exactly where you're going with that.
No, but so I was chatting to, won't digress too much, but I was chatting to my friend yesterday, and he was telling me he's listening to an AI education podcast. I was like, wait a minute, you weren't listening to Free Period? He was like, no. He's like, but yours is much better. He's like, keep your banter, keep your anecdotal stories. He's like, this was just a little bit like someone was reading a script.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it's nice to have two people presenting something. But yes, there was an underhand compliment there, but I was still like, dude, what are you doing?
To get started, I was just gonna pull up YouTube here because I was just thinking of how my brother just sent me a video that I was watching this morning about the Fable stuff, and it's amazing what people are doing with this new model. I mean, so if you don't know what Fable 5 is it's a tailored down version of Mythos, which was this model that Anthropic released or kind of put to the public and just said, hey, we're not going to release this back in April. And they said, hey, this is too powerful. We can't release this without doing some safeguards. And so this Fable 5 is their safeguarded version of it. It burns a crap ton of tokens. So I've been using it all morning with just some of the projects that I'm working on with my second brain and with, even just some of the podcast stuff that we're doing. And it is great, provides great feedback, but it also burns twice the usage tokens as Opus does, and it's only going to be available for till the 22nd of June, I think. So,
then
after that, you're going to have to pay per usage for it, which I had some usage credits, and I've already burned through like $10 because I was using it and just asking it to like sift through the code that I had on my second brain and some of these other things. And so it's expensive, but it's cool because I think in this video, what I saw, and I wonder if I'll be able to pull it up here, but what essentially what this guy was doing was he was like, hey, I'm going to ask it in like one simple prompt to say, hey, can you build me a like for like version of Minecraft and improve my prompt. And then it like gave him a better prompt. And then it spit out with that new prompt in one go after an hour of working, because you put it on ultra code mode, which just makes it kind of think super long and super hard. And he was able to build a functional version of Minecraft within an hour, which is absolutely insane. So I think it'll be really interesting to see all kinds of things. I was looking on X and people were saying like they were, plugging in their, blueprints for their home designs, and it was providing 3D renders and then giving them options of design decor changes that they could make, or someone one-shotted, meaning like within one prompt made Skyrim the video game. And so it's pretty amazing what is probably going to come out of this. And I think it's just making it more and more accessible for software sides, but it also just shows how important it is to know exactly what you're wanting to build.
Yeah, for sure. I was going to get it to have a look at all of my builds, but like you said, it just crazily burns through tokens. My friend, so I have like the $100 amount a month account for Claude, and he is on the $200 a month account. He's just like pushed it back up because, there's going to come a point where I think AI is going to get much more expensive because they are just not making money at the moment. Just getting us hooked because the amount of cost it is for energy is just astronomical. But I think like it's also about thinking. I listened to a podcast about frugal AI the other day and how you can use different models, like earlier models that are much cheaper in order to be able to access still, being able to build at a similar level.
Yeah. Well, and I think what's cool too is and this is one of the things that we're both on summer break now, and I'm excited to kind of tinker with this a little bit as well. But I'm looking forward to this summer downloading a open sourced model and trying to use it to kind of run certain like household tasks and stuff like that. Because I think that there's a lot of really good quality models that you can run on a computer. Doesn't require much. And so like software or like hardware, like you don't need like a ton of RAM and things like that. So to run some of these really cheap versions, and it can handle quite a few really easy low level tasks. And so it'd be kind of fun to do some of those things. So yeah. Looking forward to doing that this summer.
From that Fable video that you shared, the interesting takeaway for me was the bit where at the end the guy says the interesting part is what you would do with it. And that's the idea behind today's show, is to talk about AI slop. And I think sometimes when I say I'm vibe coding, I feel like there's some negative connotations that come around that. And I think that's because, like your MVP, the minimum viable product that you get, is often very generic unless you've got a good refined prompt. And people often ask for similar things. They say, I want it to look professional. I don't want it to look AI generated, but they're not giving it any reference materials. So it still comes out looking very generic. Or like when I made my first app, Cramly, which I would really want to rework, it looks very Duolingo-esque. And it took me hundreds of hours because I was new to vibe coding. And then I'd like to think that my current site, Biology by Bradford, is almost like my flagship of this is where my journey's come to. Like I'm producing something that looks very original now because I gave it some reference materials. I gave it my color palette. I gave it some art that I enjoyed, some Riso prints. And I even sketched some stuff as well. And I used Stitch by Google, and I used Design by Claude. And it was like an iterative process where I built something with Stitch, then I kind of fed that information into Design by Claude, and then it went in a bit of a loop like that as I was refining the idea of what I liked, before I was then able to give Claude Code some nice images and some nice code base for it to start working with. And I think that you can produce some really high quality professional looking sites now, or apps, that don't look like AI slop, and that people would be challenged to identify them as AI. Simple things like when I was starting and I spoke to a friend that showed me his app, he's building a mathematics-based one for kids. It's really nice. And I was like, like little tweaks would be removing emojis, just having custom built ones. It takes a bit more time. You can feed it some information for the style of those custom emojis.
Yeah.
And also just removing em dashes. Some people love them, like from, they use them when they in their language writing anyway, but unfortunately now AI has kind of taken over. It loves em dashes way too much, uses them all the time. And as soon as I see those, I just instantly think this must be AI produced. And it's like, I get it. Like, I don't want to look at AI slop myself. I don't want to look at a LinkedIn post that I know has been written by someone, like written by AI, and has removed the individual's voice. And it's the same with using an app. I don't want to necessarily engage in an app that looks like it's just been created by Claude very quickly.
Yeah.
If someone's taken that time to refine it, then I know they thought about the user experience themselves. And that's like subconsciously how I think.
Yeah. Well, and if it feels well thought out and produced, then it wouldn't feel like AI. And I don't even know like if the argument would hold where if you do take the time to create those things, if it would actually, if you couldn't claim that like you had a lot of artistic license with it. Because I do think that if you put a lot of effort into something, into thinking about the design, the creativity, the way it's structured, even if Claude is doing most of the writing and the code for it, you're able to produce things now that you would have never been able to do before, but you had the creativity there to begin with. And it finally can kind of come out and kind of flourish. And so it's just about, it's like the way I think of it is it's just another tool. And so we just need to use that tool in a way that allows us to kind of exercise our creativity better. I'll share that video, a little snippet. I think I have it pulled up here for the Fable video. We'll share that last little clip of what you were mentioning.
So point it at something that matters. What's the problem we'll look back on and wonder why it took so long to solve? We know what Claude Fable 5 can do. The interesting part is what you'll do with it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what really hooked me. And that's what I think is like at the fundamental core of the message that we're trying to get across, that, you know, AI is there to help leverage our skills and our creativity and to unlock it, really. So I'm really excited to play with Fable, and then I'm hoping after June 22nd I can still afford to.
Yeah. Well, because it's gonna go from having those in the plan to then having to use external credits for it. And the guy that was I was looking over here that made the video on, you know, he made his own version of I wonder if I could pull up an example of him playing it. But yeah, I want to turn off the volume though. But what he was saying is that he found that he had to use a bunch of extra credits to get it to finally render because it took so much thinking power. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of cool. So he built this and it like voxel craft or something. But yeah, it's like a real live Minecraft version. Like it's incredible. You know, he can like build stuff and he can do all kinds of cool things. Like I think he like later here he builds a whole house, you know, and he can like dig down and do all the things that you would do in Minecraft. And he did this in one shot, and it cost him a bit because it took so much thinking power that it just required more than the usage limit that he had on his whatever plan he was on. So it's cool though, because you can now start to get more and more creative than you probably had, and you can use it for the really high intensity thinking tasks as well. So that's kind of fun.
I mean, it's cool to see that he could recreate Minecraft, but then it's like, well, it'd be interesting to see what he does next. Now he knows that it's capable of doing that.
Right.
Like, what game does he have in mind that he would actually like to produce that he wished Minecraft always did? Or, you know, like I love the Zelda open world game. And how long is it before we see people producing like Nintendo Switch games? And you know, like designing them themselves. And of course, like there might be vulnerability issues but I think that when you're at the forefront of something, there's always going to be a level of risk. I saw someone post on LinkedIn the other day how they'd accidentally left their their API key for Claude in a README file, and it was a public GitHub. They only had $20 in there, so someone found it and they spent $20. I mean, there's some little tips when people are getting started. And I think like one of the biggest things is just to ask Claude to identify any potential vulnerability risks. And Claude's pretty good that if you accidentally drop in secure information that it shouldn't even know, it will tell you. You know, along the way, I've learned that, like, because of Vercel got hacked, so I learned that I hadn't left all of my keys on sensitive mode. It told me I was probably fine, and then I had to spend like an hour just like changing all my API keys. But then what I did is I just also added like a $10 limit, and there's little things like that it can't overspend. So I think it's important. But like one of my big tips when you're first starting is if you've only got like the Claude Basic account, or you see that you're approaching the end of your usage limit for a period of time, don't ask it to do anything too technical, because it's probably going to make a mistake and break whatever it's doing, because it wants you to kind of, I feel like there's some subconscious programming in there where they have said to Claude, you should make an error as it's approaching the limit, and then maybe they're going to buy some more tokens because they know they've got you addicted like a crack.
Or they'll upgrade to the $100 plan because they can't handle it being broken for another hour because it's too addicting.
Yes. And I was like using it to co-create an app with my students, like primarily, like it became a very nice iterative process with them. And what would happen is I'd be fixing stuff in class with them or adding new features, and then boom, it's like it's broken it or something. And this was before I learned how to properly test in a staging environment as well. So, you know, these are all things that we can cover in skill-based YouTubes, but you know, it's questions that people can start asking themselves now, though.
Yeah. Well, and I think what's cool too, and I think what we are realizing from what our last video was on HTML sites, is that there's so much more you can do with those. And now with Fable, you could probably build a one-shot game for like your classroom that you can kind of load onto a physical hardware or something along those lines. And we'll go into that in another episode. But I think what's cool is that you can kind of start to bridge the gap of creativity from the digital to the physical world. But yeah, I think in terms of the slop content and how do we avoid those things, I think one of the key things that I'm always thinking of is, you know, am I being super clear about what I want? Like, do I know exactly what I want out of the outcome? Because if I don't, then if I just go, oh, build me a lesson plan on, you know, social emotional learning today, you know, it'll just pull random things out of nowhere. And it could be helpful for maybe coming up with some ideas, but then I got to take those ideas, sit with it for a minute, or go back and forth a lot, which takes a lot of time. But I don't want to build anything in the back and forth phase. I want to really have a good plan in place before I just kind of start throwing things at Claude to build for me.
Why don't you show us that?
Otherwise, it won't really produce anything good, huh?
Why don't you show us that fun build that you made for the whole class?
So one of the things that I was thinking of is I was like, okay, in education, I feel like we've gotten so serious these days. You know, when did all the fun, exciting things? Like I remember, you know, the weird comments that people would make, when I was in high school, teachers would say like, hey, you know, why are you sucking that person's face? Let them have some oxygen, and people making out in the hallways. Anyway, it was like really funny, but memorable things because I'm still thinking about it 30 years, 10, 15 years later. So I think one of the things that I'm thinking of is like, we need to have some more fun. So not that this would necessarily be used in your classroom, but the cool thing is that you can design some pretty interesting things. So what I decided to do is I'm like, we should improve our bathroom hall pass, the way in which we allow kids to do it. And it should be, instead of just like raise your hand and go to the bathroom, you have to go to the bathroom oracle or the hall pass oracle, and you have to pick your option of what you want. So I have these three here right now. I have the flush oracle, you have the TP oracle, and then you have a pick a door. And so each one has their own. And so you have the lavatory of fate. And so you can go and enter into the bathroom and you can flush for your odds of whether or not you get to go to the bathroom. looks like this time. You get the opportunity to go. And then we have our, you can spin the TP machine, and it will spin around and around and around, and then it gives you a card of whether or not you can go, and you get to go again. So we're 2 for 2, and then you have your pick a door. So you can say, all right, which one is best for me? Looks like I'm like 3 for 3. That's awesome. So it just kind of brings fun back into the classroom. I'm not a classroom teacher, so this probably is incredibly impractical, but I think it just kind of shows that you can design some fun things, right? You can have, video GIFs on a web page, and you can, make it more interactive and fun, and feel a little more dialed than just kind of a straight sloppy emoji filled kind of website that's kind of generic. And I think in general, I would imagine if I was a student, this would probably be more fun to engage with, and just for the hilarity factor for a once off. And just kind of make it exciting, make someone squirm a little bit because they have to hold it. I mean, not that you have to do that,
Because human rights and stuff like that, maybe
not letting a kid go to the bathroom, but you know what I mean. They don't want to pee their pants.
yes,
but it just kind of adds more hilarity to it.
Yeah, I mean, I think my 6-year-old peed her pants the other day and was like, I can't move. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, yeah, I'm just like standing in a puddle of wee right now. She's just super desperate and super distracted what she's doing. But yeah, obviously, in a real classroom setting, you're just going to be like, yeah, sure, you can go to the bathroom. Basically, right. But what I think that's a nice example of is that is definitely not just something generic in AI slop. It's got a lot of element of your creativity in there. And then what did you use to like render those images?
Yeah, so what I did is I love to use voice dictation, so I use Claude to just I just dump my whole brain into like a Sonnet 4.6, and I just say, hey, this is what I'm thinking, here's some options that I want to do. And then I knew what I wanted the image to look like, right? I knew that I wanted a guy on the landing page welcoming you into the laboratory of fate, so that you had to pick what stall you wanted, essentially. And I knew what I wanted the image of the bathroom stall to look like, and the scene behind. And so I kind of just explained that roughly in a voice dictation. And then I had it build me a prompt for OpenAI's chat image 2.0. And then I just pasted that in there. And I used a site called Weavy by Figma. And I'll pull it up here and we can see. I wonder if I have it on this one. I'm not sure. But you can, oh yeah, I do. And so then you can see my iterations for each of these, which is cool. So on my Weavy, you can see like my different ones that I've kind of been working on. And you can see my different iterations here. So you can see like, oh, this is the stall. And I had Claude build me a prompt, and then it like the door was all off. And so I had to fix the door. And then I got the inside of the door to look this way. And then the toilet, I had a few different iterations of the toilet. And then I was like, oh, this is what I want this to look like. And so I had it generate that image pretty easily. And then I had to get it to be a GIF. I went to the video vids tool by Google that we have, our school has a subscription to. And then I just said, animate this video where the guy is like welcoming you in. And then it just makes it really easy. And then the same thing for the toilet paper roll. I had it generate based off of what I wanted. It wasn't right at first. And so I had to like just say, hey, I don't want 1 to 2 pieces hanging off. I still wanted to attach the roll and don't have any paper on the floor, right? Because I wanted it to be able to spin in the animation without having it kind of run into any issues. So it's kind of cool. So you can use these tools to your advantage to really kind of just get creative and create little scenes and do certain things. which makes it way more custom, right? And more fun, and it doesn't take you that much longer, right? Like it's just adding a few extra steps to just refine it a little bit, versus just kind of being lazy in our mental work of just being like, oh, I'm just going to ask it to spit out the things. I just want it to be quick and fast and easy. Instead, it's being like, oh, I want this to be intentionally designed. I don't want this to just be like some random thing that I just ask Claude to build, or ChatGPT to build. Like it's like those images, or those, not images, but it's like those emails when people are like, hey, everybody, this is what ChatGPT said about this thing we're trying to do. And I'm like, I immediately just get irritated, because I'm just like, I do that too. Sure. I ask ChatGPT or Claude to help me with my decision making or think of ideas, but I at least curate it, like read through it first. I don't want to be the guy that has to read through 20 pages of whatever it produced to then be like, half of this isn't even helpful or relevant. Like, give me the stuff that's actually, like, you do the curation. Give me the stuff that's actually helpful. Don't just say, chat wrote this. What do you think? It's like I'm now having to do all the work of having to read through it and read that 20-page document. And so anyway, that's my little rant.
Yeah. And of course, the more that you converse with Chat or Claude, the more commonality you see in those conversations. Like it's not unlimited in its creativity, but unless you really like push it, you will just get generic responses. Like pretty much baked in some standard stuff. It's obviously like citing some standard stuff. And it's about pushing the model as well yourself. So, I mean, I think we should finish with just saying, like the tool was never the problem. Know what you want. And to quote the guy from Anthropic again, the interesting part is what you would do with it. And I think, we would love to see some examples of what people are building. Drop us a comment, reach out to us on LinkedIn. We'd love to start getting people on the show and showcase what you're building and why that was a pain point for you as a teacher. And, we're not AI, ed tech, everything. We're, in the next episode, we'll start talking about how we really think this can help us disconnect from technology and how we can actually find more human interaction because of AI has helped leverage, because we've leveraged AI to like free ourselves up.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I think that's the key is it's allowing you to exercise the creativity that you already have to a fuller capacity. And it also allows you to now start to do the human things well, and also bridge the gap of saying things like, we have things that are designed for digital work and we have things that are designed for physical work. So, and like you said, we'll get into that next episode. But with that said, if you are new to Free Period, welcome. Thank you for watching till the end. And we look forward to seeing you in the next one. And until then, have a good summer break, because I'm sure most of you are on holiday. So see you soon.